Rice. Treasurer Rice is ready with the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Clerk Cody, would you get roll call of the board, please?
Clerk Cody here, Union Township, Isabella County, Michigan. Treasurer Rice.
Here, Isabella County, Union Township, Michigan.
Supervisor Milky.
Here, Charter Township of Union, Isabella County, Michigan.
Trustee Hawk.
Here, Isabella County, Union Township, Michigan.
Trustee Therian.
Here, Union Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Trustee Brown.
Here, Union Township, Isabella County, State of Michigan.
Trustee Bills.
Here, Manistee County, State of Michigan.
All good. All right, with that, we have a fairly light agenda in front of us. Happy to take any motions regarding the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
We approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Hauk, support by Bills to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? See no one jumping up, right? Let's call the vote. Clerk Cody, the motion is to approve the agenda as presented.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Bills.
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Trustee Therian.
Yes.
Treasurer Rice.
Yes.
Trustee Hawk.
Yes.
And Supervisor Milky.
Yes.
All yeses.
Thank you very much. That brings us to item 5 on our agenda, presentations. We have one presentation this evening to our manager. I don't know if you wanted to say anything before we give the floor to our finance director. You're muted.
Just for a moment, thank you and good evening, everybody. What I wanted to do is have an opportunity for each of the departments to spend a few minutes describing, what they do, where they've come from, where they're going, that type of thing. So we're kicking that off tonight with the finance department. I think one of the meetings in July will be the community and economic development department, then later the public services department. So Sherry has a presentation. I'm going to share my screen. And while I'm doing that, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so with that, I'll just turn it over to Sherry Teal, our finance director.
Mark, it's not at the beginning, though.
Oh,
There we go.
Mhm.
Okay, this first slide here, it's just a summary of the different categories of things that we do in the finance department, things that we work on, different areas. And during the presentation, I'll talk a little bit about each one of these. I won't read them off, that'd take too long. One thing that I wanted to talk about today or tonight is costs versus revenues. Actual costs of the finance department. For the general fund, operating the department last year in 2020 cost about $191,000. But one thing to keep in mind with that is if you don't have really good, if you don't have a really good, strong finance department, accounting department, it can cost the entity money in the form of payroll tax deadlines. For example, if you don't meet the payroll tax deadlines, there's, a lot of interest and penalties that can come about and be incurred to the township. One of the things when I came to work here 7 years ago, that was kind of behind and had not been done property was unemployment tax, for example. And that is supposed to be reported every quarter and paid every quarter by the 25th of the following month. And it was behind about, I think, a year and a half or 2 years. And so I had to dig back into the past, figure that out, straighten that out, and make those payments. And then there were penalties. So if we don't keep up on things like that, it can cost the township money. Another thing with accounts payable, you have late fees and discounts that could be, if you don't pay your bills on time, you can get late fees that cost the township money. And if you can get things paid on time that have a discount on the invoice, then you can save money on that invoice by taking the discount. Audit costs. In the 191,000 operating for the department that I'm showing you here, the audit costs were approximately 17,000 for 2020. Now, if you don't have a good, strong finance department, accounting team, then audit costs can double, because when the auditors come in to do their work, they find all kinds of issues. When I first came to work here 7 years ago, there were a lot of things related to the audit that needed to be worked out. I was hired in April, and it was during a time when they were right in the middle of the audit, and we had bank reconciliations that were not done properly for like 12 months. We were trying to get that straightened out. We had the tax fund was not in balance. There were all kinds of problems with the tax fund. It had not cleared out. There were just all kinds of issues. The auditors actually worked on the tax fund and tried to get that sorted out. So a lot of those types of things can make the audit costs more, because the auditors that come in have to do extra work that they weren't anticipating. What's nice about Union Township is, since I've been here for the 7 years, the board has supported and recognized the importance of this department, and allowed me to hire extra help to make sure these things get done, that we're timely, and in turn we save money, because the accounting department can cost the township or any entity a lot more money if they don't do their jobs correctly, or if they don't have time to do everything and meet all the deadlines. So I'm thankful for that with this township, that the board has always supported the department throughout the years that I've been here. And then on the other side of this, revenues. Generally, the finance department or accounting department will cost, is a cost to the township or an entity. But in this case, there are a few revenues that the township receives that can be influenced, that are influenced by the finance department performance. One of them is the CVTRS, the revenue sharing. Every year we have to submit financial reports to the state of Michigan, and in turn they promise to pay us an additional $45,000. Now we have to get that all turned in and posted on our website by December 1st each year. If we don't get that done, we lose the $45,000. State aid revenue for lost personal property taxes. Every year, before, the deadline's June 15th. I prepare a couple of forms, one for the East DDA and one for the West DDA. And I'm looking to see if we can submit that for reimbursement for lost personal property taxes. In 2020, we received about $62,000 for the East DDA due to lost personal property taxes. And then investment income, we try to purchase CDs at a higher interest rate. And in 2020, the investment income on cash reserves for the township was $280,000. Okay, one of the things that we worked on, like I mentioned, is the fiscal year end and the audit. That basically, we work on things related to that for the first 6 months of the calendar year. So in January through March, we're getting ready for the audit. In April and May, we actually have the audit, which takes about a week. And then after the audit, we review draft financial statements and we prepare management's discussion and analysis of the financial statements. In May and June, we're taking that financial information and we're preparing different reporting that's required with that financial information. It goes to the state of Michigan. Constituents can then see it on the township website. We get it posted and loaded there. Rural development requires it and they sign off on it and tell us whether we did a good job or not. And then we also submit information to public financial management. They take care of our required bond disclosures on EMA. Those things are all due in the first 6 months of the year. And then with budgeting, I tend to say that, okay, we got done with the audit, now we're in budgeting. We're working on budgeting for the last 6 months of the year, July through basically December. In July and August, we work on original budget preparation for the following fiscal year. We estimate wages and benefits, we estimate revenues, and we review other departmental budget entries. And then in July and November, we prepare budget amendments for the fiscal year that we're currently in. And we also attend budget meetings with other departments. They give us input on, you know, what they can see that in their budgets that needs to be adjusted. And then we prepare that accordingly. And then we submit it to the Board of Trustees. We submit it to you all for review and approval. We also, in the finance department, we have some treasury duties. July through March, we have current tax collections. In the 2020 tax year, we collected and dispersed $15 million in collections. About 2 million stayed in the township in the different funds and special assessments and everything. And then 13 million of that was dispersed to other entities like the county, the schools, the library, and ICTC. And we reconcile all of that twice a month and make disbursements. Then we also collect mobile home taxes and delinquent personal property throughout the year. And those are dispersed to the entities and reconciled quarterly. We do a little bit in human resources. Whenever we have a new hire, we prepare the paperwork and do some onboarding. I kind of explain their benefits to them, explain when they'll be paid. We set the employee up in the system so they can be paid. when collective bargaining negotiations come around, the finance director, I'm part of the collective bargaining team, and put together a spreadsheet to cost out what the employees and the benefits are going to cost if we make this change or that change to the bargaining agreement. We also take care of benefits administration. We schedule open enrollment every year for the employees. We make sure that all the bills for benefits are charged out properly in payroll, and we reconcile a payroll fund and make sure that everything is charged to all the funds correctly. And we keep track of the flex medical spending accounts and make sure that all reconciles as well. And then with payroll, we prepare biweekly payroll. This pay period, it was for 36 employees. That can vary depending on whether we have temporary employees or not. Right now, it's kind of a larger amount because of temporary parks personnel. Then we also have a quarterly payment to township boards we have to remember to pay. There's approximately 20 employees there on the Planning Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and Board of Review. And then each year we prepare the W-2s for everybody. It is generally about 50 to 60 W-2s that we send out from this department. Accounts payable, we pay accounts payable. It's generally every other week. It kind of varies. It goes along with the board meetings. So the schedule changes slightly at times. We have last year we processed 2,800 invoices. We scan them in the system for paperless review. That comes in handy and saves time later. We issue 1,200 checks or electronic payments in 1 year, approximately. And we prepare 1099 tax statements for all the independent contractors, and that's generally about 60 to 70 of those that we mail out each year. Cash receipting. Last year we had 9,000 cash receipts. I take care of the online payment portal, resolving any problems or issues that come up with that. We reconcile 10 separate bank accounts each month. And last year we managed 13 to 16 certificates of deposit with this Isabella Bank. IT, I'm the system administrator for the financial system. We do software updates we have software updates that come through twice a month that have to be loaded. We take care of that. I'm responsible for administrating the assessing department's pivot point software. They have a little tablet they take out in the field, and they're able to do their field work using the tablet. And then they can come back to the office and load that into our BS&A system using that tablet. I work with CMS on a multitude of issues that come up related to computer issues. And for the employees at the Township Hall, I've purchased hardware for like scanners and webcams and things as needed for the people at the Township Hall. And then the finance department does some assessing administration. We set up Zoom meetings and training for the board of review as needed. We prepare requests for board action when needed for assessing contract administration. And then we do review the Michigan Tax Tribunal cases as needed. Okay, that's it for tonight. Does anybody have any questions?
Sherry?
Yes.
I didn't see anybody jumping in, so, I was not aware of that 45,000 K revenue sharing by essentially filing your financials with the state on time. That's a big chunk of money. That's an incentive.
Yes.
And then, the other one that interested, well, I had two other comments, I guess. The interest income, and I don't remember how much it was, but it was a sizable amount. And those were all off CDs listed essentially for interest income.
Well, CDs and bank accounts, I mean, we have, like, I call it a savings account, but we have some money market accounts. We actually deposit all of our money that we get daily right into money market accounts, which has a higher interest rate.
Right.
But it's still, those generally aren't as high as the CDs.
Yeah, but still, that's a sizable amount of income just in that interest. How much of that is enterprise funds versus the other funds like the EDA and I should know this because we look at finances a lot, but I was curious.
Yeah, I think the general fund's like 100,000. I mean, offhand, I probably can't give you a really good answer.
In the ballpark of 100,000 for the general fund and interest. That's
Yeah.
$100,000.
Yep, and then, I'm thinking 70,000 for water fund and then 70,000 for sewer fund, but that's just a ballpark number off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold you to it. Thanks for that. Anybody else have questions?
Nope.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I found it very interesting, and although I knew a lot of that, you forget. It's easy to forget all that you the department do. So thanks for all your work.
Right. Thank you, and I hope I didn't put
Thank you,
anybody to
Sherry.
sleep.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Thanks for all you do.
With that, that takes us to item 6 on our agenda, public hearings, of which we have none. So we'll move to public comment. Item 7, public comments restricted to 3 minutes regarding items on this agenda. Not an opportunity for questions. It is comments only. Not seeing any public here. I'm not going to go through instructions, but if you want to resume, please raise your hand. If you do approach the public and the board, please state your name and address for the record. With that, we'll open public comment at 7:23 p.m. Seeing that the only person that's part of the public is the press and not raising their hand, we'll close public comment at 7:24 p.m. Move to item 8 on our agenda. We do have some work to do regarding the appointments. And if you remember, Clerk Cody was needing to step away from the Planning Commission. He announced that last meeting, primarily because of the additional demand that she has on her plate with one, if not two elections this year. Is that accurate? So with that, and I understand it, and I know Lisa's really enjoyed the Planning Commission as I did, but it's a heavy lift board, and it's a lot of work. So had some discussions. Two people expressed some interest in maybe looking at that. James and Connie, and to be clear, this is the liaison role from the Board of Trustees to the Planning Commission, right? And so I had conversations with both James and Connie, and I think through the three of us, we decided that nominating James would be best, but I'd like to hear from our board if somebody else also had interest. I haven't heard that from anybody. I kind of asked for that at the last meeting. I'm not seeing any pushback, but I guess if the board is willing, I'd be happy to nominate James for the Planning Commission.
I'll support that.
I'll support that.
All
Me
right,
too.
with that, I'll go ahead and nominate James Therian as the board liaison to the Planning Commission. Board, if somebody's got it.
I
What
think
did you
he's got
say?
the experience and that he'll do good on the job. So
Yeah.
Is that a formal support? I just want to make sure I know I got support on that.
Yeah.
Bill
Thank you.
supported,
Bill?
Bill supported, then
My apologies.
trustee
Jeff
Brown.
Brown did, everybody did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on that then?
No, what happens with the county?
I was just going to go there. Thanks.
Okay, okay.
Trustee Haug. And so James and I talked about that. The county commission, really, it meets the same evening that planning commission does. So James would be stepped back from that. And so in my conversation with Connie, Connie hasn't had a lot of responsibility because of, with the tribal liaison, because of the COVID and how that's changed it. Yes, Cody?
We need to vote on the planning commission one before we go
Well,
any further.
I felt this was relevant
Okay,
because you may decide that you don't support James for some reason based on this, but in any event, James would need to step down from the county commission. And Connie expressed interest in filling that role. Which is not what I'm proposing that now, but I wanted to make sure that we had all our seats filled because there had to be some jockeying. Any other discussion on the motion to appoint Trustee Thering to the Planning Commission as the Board of Trustees? Cody, we take a roll call vote on the motion I just listed.
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Trustee Howe,
Yes.
Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. All yeses.
Thank you. Trustee Thering, I'm glad you voted yes on that. Thank you. So as I mentioned, Trustee Thering he had to step down from county commission primarily because of the conflict. But prior to knowing about that conflict, because I was not seeing that they were on the same evenings, my conversation with James was, if you're in the planning commission, you might not want to be on something else because of the demand that the planning commission makes on you. And so I kind of alluded to James that maybe you got to step back from county anyways. And Connie's expressed that interest. And not that I can nominate it, but does anybody else have that same interest?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Connie Bills for our representative to the Isabella County Commission.
Support.
Support.
A nomination for Connie Bills, Trustee Bills, sorry, as our liaison to the county by Thering, Trustee Thering, support by Treasurer Rice. Any further discussion on that? Being none, Clerk Cody, we have a motion to appoint Trustee Bills at liaison to the county.
Trustee Thering. Did you say yes? I couldn't hear. Can you hear me? Am I frozen?
I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you, Lisa.
Did you say yes, Trustee Thering? Okay.
Yes.
There you go.
Trustee Howe,
Yes.
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Treasurer Rice,
She's excited.
Oh, my God.
Sorry, who were you asking? Me? Me or
Yes.
Connie? Okay, yes. Sorry.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
all yeses.
Very good. Thank you. By the way, I like Cage the Elephant. I can name that tune in one note.
Wow, that's good.
Anyway, sorry, my apologies. Just a reminder, we still have openings on the ZBA and the EDA, and I'm not aware of others off the top of my head, but we continue to look for. Unless anybody has anything else, I'll move us to item 8B on the agenda, board member reports. And I'll start in the top right with Treasurer Rice, who's got a nice smile going for some reason.
Oh, just before. So the only thing for me is taxes are being prepared and it's gonna be in mailboxes the 1st. So be on the lookout.
Very good. Trustee Brown, oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, and don't forget that when you get them, you can pay them online as well. So the instructions and stuff will be on the back. So
Trustee Brown?
No report, city commission meetings, this coming Monday. I'll have a report next time.
Very good. Trustee Thering? Or should I say planning
Can you
commission?
hear me okay, or am I in and out?
I hear you. You're going in and out a little bit, and so is Supervisor Milky, but
Well, just stop me if I get funky there. Really, the only thing that was discussion that I heard was they talked about purchasing a truck through my deal. It's kind of like, and I actually called Kim today and talked to her about that, and it is a site they use when appropriate, where they put the specs in, and then people get to bid. So it's something that our township does do.
Very good.
They seem
Thank
to
you.
have pretty good, the county seems to have pretty good luck with it.
Trustee Hauk?
Yeah, I went to a road commission meeting the 27th of May. They have quite a lengthy meeting. They had quite a bit going on. They approved 23 more road contracts for gravel refurbishing. They're going to do 37.5 miles of refurbishing the gravel roads, 10 miles of limestone roads. Couple pretty decent projects that are coming up that I want to talk about later. They approved a contract with the village of Rosebush and Isabella Township. They're going to redo Mission Road from Rosebush to Baseline Road, or from like our township boundary to Rosebush. That was over $1 million contract. I don't know if anybody noticed, but they approved the McGurk Estates, and they did that like Monday.
Yeah.
So the roads are all done over there now. I'm sure, Brian, you see it on your way by. They're going to be doing work on over 10% of the total county roads this summer. So there's quite a bit going on. They wound up receiving $651,000 in 2% money from the tribe.
wow.
From the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe, when you take all the projects together. So, and then Remus and Isabella Road, it's probably complete by now. As of the 27th of May, it was 95% complete. I haven't gone by there this week, so I'm sure it's probably just about done. I don't know if anybody's been down Isabella and
Yeah, I
High
think,
Street. But
yeah, it's close, if not done.
okay, it's done. Okay. Major water main break in the city today too. Did anybody see that?
Yeah, I was going by there.
Mission and Broomfield is a 16-inch line.
Oh,
Okay. I was gonna ask you if you knew what happened there, Bill.
Yeah, I was
Oh my
talking to Bill
God.
Alba.
I was driving my son to the doctor's office and all of a sudden I see whoosh, and I'm like, whoa, what is going on? I saw trucks and stuff there. So
Yeah. So then there's another road commission meeting tomorrow morning. So I'll be at that one.
Did you happen to ask them, Trustee Hauk, about the apron there on just south of Remus on Isabella Road?
No.
Would you mind
That's-
asking? Did you
The
drive
apron,
by?
that's a right-hand turn lane.
Yes, there's a right-hand turn lane, but there's an apron right there that goes onto that vacant property.
Yeah,
Right, it's access to the field.
Correct. What's that
Yeah.
for?
What's that?
What is that for?
I would assume access for the farmer to get into the field.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just
So there
curious.
was probably one there before.
it's always been
I
there.
noticed it.
It was just, you just didn't notice it before because it was just a culvert. Now it's
Right.
got cement, it's got gutter around it.
All right, that's
Urban gutter.
helpful. Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that when you said that last time, Brian. I went by there the next morning. And yeah, it's just it's 20 foot wide anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Thanks. You all set?
yep. Yep.
Clerk Cody,
Nothing, thank you.
trustee Bills.
Nothing for me,
All right, so apparently I'm breaking up. Is that correct?
a little bit. I can hear you.
Many of us are. We need live meetings.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll try to talk slow because I have a few things for my report. I'd like to touch base on the EDA briefly. At the last EDA meeting, just kind of as a status, I'll give you, we are proceeding with updating the DDA and TIF plans. And we have a reminder that we have a consultant helping us with that. And so at this point, there's a survey that's out in the field that is directed at the businesses in both the East and West District. And so I'm assuming probably by the time we get to our next meeting, which is next week, that the results of that survey, I don't know if they'll be completed, but the data will be, have been collected. And then that data will help be used to drive the plan. You hear me good enough?
Yes.
And I kind of wanted to lift up some of the potential avenues or categories of ideas that the EDA has in front of them. Some will be thrown out, but these are all items that are being discussed by the EDA for this next 10-year plan. Business retention and recruitment, which I was pleased to hear. Public buildings and spaces. Building facade and sign improvement program. Property acquisition. Maybe setting up special district and urban design plans. Demolition meaning getting rid of old buildings or blight so that new buildings construction can be done there to encourage new construction. With public infrastructure, which is something the EDA's focused on in the past. Private infrastructure improvements and site preparation to make it encourage development. So those are some of the ideas that the EDA is looking at. Anyways, I wanted to share those with you. So the EDA, kind of exciting board to be on right now. I feel blessed to be able to be on it. Bill and I went to the 2% distribution by the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe last week, and our Union Township did receive some 2% funding. It was on the order of 39,000 plus for chip and seal projects. It is interesting that a project we've looked at with Deerfield Township, the Meridian Road, which we've done work on in the past, I think it's kind of finishing that up. Deerfield was awarded that, so that gives a lot of encouragement that we'll be able to complete that project with Deerfield Township. Bill, would you like to highlight any other? Because you read through those as well.
I've got it right here. Deerfield got 49,000.
And you mentioned the one on Mission to Rosebush.
Well, the one on Mission Road, when you and I were talking to them, I went up to Joe Keequam, the chief, and I just shook his hand and said, thank you. I said, I couldn't believe all of the work that they're going to do on Mission Road. And I'm just, hopefully we can get on board and get the other 1.5 miles done from the roundabout to Baseline Road. I mean, what a heck of a project. I mean, I've got a lot of people, I know a lot of people from Rosebush. I mean, I grew up there, but everybody I talked to along Mission Road, they're so happy about it. And hopefully we could get in on this in our next disbursement or their next disbursement. I had mentioned something to Joe when you were talking to Frank Holt here. I was talking to Joe Keekwam about it, and he said, we're on board with that one. So.
Wonderful. Yeah, a lot of good projects.
Yeah.
This was my first time to 2% distribution. I've been in front of the tribal council before. But I have to say, for me, it was a very emotional event.
Yeah, it was.
It was amazing, and I want to express formally our township's gratitude. Both Bill and I expressed that when we were there, but they don't have to give us anything, and yet they partner and help our community just like we want to help their community. It's amazing. Thank you, Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe.
Yes.
$2,126,000 they gave out.
Wow.
Yeah, this year. So in total, I did some research prior to the meeting, and they have given out over $250 million in 2% revenue share to our community. Over $250 million. Anyways, I was blown away. So I was anxious to share that with you. Just as a reminder, Monday morning, we have an intergovernmental meeting with the city, the county, tribe. I'm looking forward to that. And some of the 2 items that we put on the agenda that the township kind of want to talk about is some pathways, partners that we've talked about with the city, connecting on Crawford there, as well as the Treasurer Rice had shared some ideas that the Pathways Committee was working on. And one of them, and Kim, by the way, Kim told me this the night before we went to the 2% distribution, shared with me that they were looking at like a pedway to cross 127 so that we can connect Michigan and the tribe into Union Township and the city via pathway. And that's been on the radar of the township for years, but it's a big project. And when I was there, Frank Cloutier said he has real interest in that. So that discussion will happen on Monday as well. We'll see what kind of support there is with other municipalities. Nice. It was nice to hear the tribe have the same desires that our pathway committee did just a day later. Anyways, I did go to, this is my last note, McGurk subdivision. The day it was paved, and drove up and down and checked it all out. It looks really good. I'll share with you, I had essentially 2 complaints. There were 2 driveways that the people weren't fond of how it was feathered into their driveway. And the other complaint I heard, and this has been one that seems we could fix, was communication. Nobody knew it was coming, right? And I think that's often the case for a lot of residents. They don't know that their road's going to be essentially inaccessible for a little bit of time. And I don't know, Bill, if you share that with the road commission, and maybe I'm missing something that we can relate to our residents on when these things are going to happen so that they can plan for it. I don't know.
I'll say something tomorrow morning.
Does that make sense then?
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, that moves us to item 9, consent agenda. Be happy to entertain any motions.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll support.
A motion by Bill, support by Brown. Who had warrants? Trustee Thering, all good?
To the best of my ability, I had no questions.
Any other discussion regarding the minutes or accounts payable, et cetera, et cetera? Seeing none, the motion is to approve the consent agenda. Clerk Cody, please give us roll call.
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
Supervisor Melky,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes, and Trustee Hauck,
Yes.
all yeses.
Thank you very much. That takes us to new business. regarding 2% grant submission for October. You've already heard a little discussion just because of the timing of the recent disbursement. With that, I'd be happy to hand it over to our manager if you'd like to introduce this.
I will just briefly. Your governance policy asks or requires that the board discuss 2% applications in advance of each grant period. You recall that there's a spring and a summer, or a spring and a fall grant period. And so as we begin looking forward to the October grant period, the fall, just an agenda item so that the board can start talking about what they might want to see applications made for. I do have a list that I maintain based on prior conversations that the board has had, other applications that have been submitted and not awarded. I do have that, and I could list some of those if you like. For instance, I've heard in the past that there's interest for a recycling station around Isabella and Deerfield. That might be done in conjunction with partnering with the county. They have a program where they have some recycling containers, the large containers. There need to be some site prep and development for that. Might also be able to incorporate some site development to park a few cars. There's been talk of trying to put a trailhead for the bike path in that area. So that's there. Pump station number 1, we've been awarded some money on that in the past. We're trying to fill a pretty big gap, so that stays on the list. Mentioned earlier, that's also on this list is the pedestrian bridge over 127. That would be a multi-year endeavor. It would cost a lot of money, but part of what you can do with the 2% program is make the ask, get awarded, and start compiling funds for eventual work. A lot of talk by the board about sidewalks, so we have listed here Isabella corridor up to Broadway. There's been discussion about trying to connect the southern part of the township, some of the student housing along Deerfield, up to the Denison connector. And so that would kind of go through, I think right now it's kind of a field next to the research incubator facility down there. Harrison Road, Harrison Crawford Road pathway up to Mission Park is on the list. And then eventually trying to get that north up to the township limits. That's something that the Mid-Michigan Pathway Group is interested in to complete their mission of trying to get all the way up to Clare. And then I've heard trying, expand the footprint of Jameson Park through property acquisition. So those are just some items that are on a working list. Some of those could possibly get applied for in the fall. The larger ones that would take engineering work, maybe it's the engineering component that could be applied for. So that's just some things out there that maybe would help the discussion. So Supervisor, I'll turn it back to you.
Great. I'm happy to open it to the board. Trustee Haug.
Well, I brought one up a few minutes ago. I mean, why not complete Old Mission Road? Why not go from the roundabout to Baseline Road? I mean, they had no problem funding Isabella Township and the village of Rosebush. It'd be nice to have that completed all the way from Mount Pleasant to Rosebush. It's very well used every day. Nice road out to the fairgrounds. My opinion, it'd be nice, a nice way to enter the township from the north.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
It's a major project what they're gonna do there. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and like I said, Joe Keequam, he sounded like they were real excited about that. And I don't know how many of you guys travel up and down Mission Road, but it's terrible. And I know Ben
Horrible.
Gunning, our former our former township supervisor, I know he said that at one time that the state was gonna go through and fix that, and I thought it was like in 2018, but the funding never came through for it. So sure would be nice to see that completed. If they're gonna have those 4 miles done, then it'd be nice to see the other 1.5 miles completed.
Agreed. The trailhead idea, do you mind, Bill? I'm in support of that.
No, go ahead, no.
The trailhead idea that you had regarding condition in Deerfield, I really like that idea. I'm gonna list a concern, but it's only because of if some of these other projects come to pass that connect that pathway on Deerfield up into the city and maybe north of the city into the township. If some of that passes, there might be opportunity for trailheads at a lot of locations that already have existing parking. And but the township one might be more convenient because most of the pathway that goes south of here connects all the way down, whereas we're not connected to Pierre Marquette yet until we get to Clare. But I just wanted to bring that up, that there is that potential. But I think it's worth looking into further. Yes, Trustee Hout?
Yeah, but on that, Brian, too, I mean, I know we talked that there's stimulus money coming. Didn't we? There's like 1.3 million. And when we took that bus tour, we went around there and we talked maybe using some of that for a park there.
Right.
And you could make a trailhead there. And if you wanted to put a recycling center in there, do it. I mean, you go around to a lot of the township parks in other townships, and they have a recycling center at their parks.
right.
Yep. So, Mark, regarding the recycling, you mentioned Isabella and Broomfield, correct? This is the site that they suggested. Is there a reason they suggested that versus Bill just talked about?
The Isabel and Deerfield location is sourced goes back several years, I believe, to the Sustainability Committee and some interest in, there's a lot of student housing down there. There's residents, whether they're students or not. And particularly with the multifamily, they don't have recycling services. And so the Sustainability Committee even had some rough engineering estimates done. And I think it was mostly related to serving that population. And then I also, as it turns out, I also received a call from Rick McGurk a few months ago asking about recycling services down in that area. That's where that's coming from.
Okay. Trustee Hauk?
Well, I just was trying to think, I know the Isabel and Deerfield intersection now, I just was trying to think of,
So
you said Isabel and Deerfield.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's
that doesn't
Mission.
intersect.
I'm sorry, it's Mission
Yeah,
Road.
yeah.
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 I'm sorry.
okay,
Mission Deerfield.
okay,
I was
that's what I was
thinking that
confused.
doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah, I was too, because it doesn't intersect.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe this is a good way to go about it. Is there anything there that people do not have an interest in? Because, I mean, ultimately, we want to have a conversation with Tribe about this, to see where their interests lie too, because we want to apply for stuff that they want to partner in. Is that reasonable? If I took Mark's list and add in that Mission roundabout to Beal, any other things maybe I should share? Everybody heard the list, right?
Yeah.
Did you mention the bridge about Connor subdivision? Mark?
No,
I did not.
And I only bring that up because that's something that the tribe mentioned in the past when Norm was their liaison, that they seem to have interest in.
And I missed that. It's on my list, but I didn't mention it verbally.
And I'll try to describe it for especially our new board members. But I believe it was a bridge between the O'Connor subdivision. What is that? That's Crawford Road. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then
Bamber.
Bamber. Thank you, Bamber. And connecting to the McDonald subdivision, right?
Right.
And that would allow, apparently there's either a drain there, the drain, right? It's county drain. But they have to
County drain.
And so to allow pedestrian traffic to go between neighborhoods, a bridge would have to be built. And that was something I believe that the tribe suggested.
But you'd have to acquire property. You'd have to acquire land. And the guy that owns the land on both sides is not interested. He's not interested in selling.
You had that conversation.
I talked to him.
Okay, good to know. So I don't know if this board, what about the pedway idea? Connect the two sides of the expressway. Their reception to that. I think I've shared that idea with a few of you after Kim, you brought that up. Seeing some nods. Okay. I did, I'll let you know, Mark brought up the pathway on Crawford. If you look at the city capital plan, they're trying to put all their park systems connected by a pathway. So that includes up to the dog park on Crawford there. And that's when I was aware of that. I said, well, maybe the township can partner with you on that. We maybe carry it farther and maybe approach them outside funding money, collaboration. And so I brought that up to Frank Cloutier, and he seemed pretty excited about the idea and wanted to at least discuss it further. Indicated that they would be willing to give easement on their property to allow for that pathway if we needed it. So I was encouraged that they have interest in that. At least initial discussion.
So I can, I've added trustee how comment about Old Mission Road, and I could forward this list to Brian, you, if you wanted to have it in your file for future discussions with the tribe or something.
and me,
Yes, I'll forward to all of you.
Kind of our liaison. Yeah.
Yes. I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
Because you're the, yes.
Good. I'm not seeing
When
other
we-
stuff, so
when
I'm gonna.
we,
Yes, trustee Bills?
When do we decide on that stuff, to what to apply for?
I don't know the deadline off the top of my head. August, September? Mark?
Okay,
Yeah, probably in August, September. Because I believe the fall deadline is October 31st, if I'm not mistaken.
thank
It's
you.
just, if we decide that we have some priority ones we want to lift up, we need to make sure that staff has ample time to prepare the description and of that grant application.
Right, right.
All right. Well, let's move on to item 10B agenda regarding resumption of in-person board and board of trustees meetings. Mark, I'll go ahead and hand this off to you because I know you've put together some information for us on this.
I knew the board, wanted to have a discussion about when and under what circumstances you might want to resume in-person meetings. Right, as it sits right now, the current situation, we are allowed to continue to have virtual meetings. That is because there exists in Isabella County a local state of emergency that the county commission, the county chair, put in place last year. That's still in effect. When that goes away, there'll be very limited circumstances that the Open Meetings Act allows for virtual meeting. And primarily it's to accommodate an elected official that's in the military, might be working, outside of the area, or due to a medical condition by an elected official. But for now, the virtual meeting is allowed. The in-person meeting is also allowed right now, but there are still some restrictions in place, both by MDHHS and by OSHA. There are, the township facility, the township hall is considered a workplace. So because of that, we have to follow certain rules, and daily health screening of employees is still required. There are, and then there's still a gathering limit indoors that's 50% occupancy or 25 people, whichever is greater. For the township hall, and this is just a rough number, you'd be maxed out at 29 people. And that calculation is based on basically I did not subtract out part of the room that's occupied by tables. Whatever the number would end up being, the key there is if you exceed that during your meeting, you would need to postpone the meeting, delay it, do something to reduce the number of people below that threshold. The sense that I get is that a lot of these restrictions are going to go away in July. And that's kind of the latest word out on the street. I did make the administration's recommendation is to continue to hold virtual meetings. The message I've had since all this began was that the safety of our employees, our citizens, was paramount. There's still a virus out there. There's still, Isabella County is not very high in terms of vaccination percentages. The last I saw was around 38% fully vaccinated. But that memo, and it's in your packet, outlines, what the current status is, a recommendation for both in-person and virtual. So I think I'll just turn it back to the supervisor, and it's for the board to discuss.
Happy to hear from our board.
We've already talked about this, and I'm for the in-person, but I think we should be able to have a Zoom link. I don't understand why we can't have both.
I think it's more of a technology issue. No, I
That
think-
should be easy. That should be easy for CMS to hook up. They do it all the time in boardrooms.
And I don't know. I know the city's in that same spot where they felt they need time to be able to make that all happen. And some of that may have to do with the fact that it's public versus a private meeting. You have to make sure.
Yeah.
Zach, I think that's the catch. I don't know. Maybe our manager can speak to that more. I haven't looked at that. But I know
It's not going to be as simple as anybody thinks. It's easy to broadcast the meeting live on YouTube. It's easy for people to sit in their home and watch the meeting. The trick comes in having somebody at their home communicate two-way with the board members and the other people in the room, the other residents that might be in person. I think that's the direction the Open Meetings Act would be going, to almost require that. But you can't stand something like that up by the time your next board meeting.
And for the record, thank you. And for the record, Trustee Bills, I'm really supportive of that idea too, regardless of what happens in the future, as far as timing of in-person or virtual. I'd like to see us be able to provide that option. We've talked a lot about linkage to ownership, and it seems important to me that what this pandemic has taught us is new ways at doing some things, good and bad. And we can be more open by allowing people that are not maybe able to travel to Township Hall to participate in meetings. That's a positive thing.
Yeah.
That ultimately.
We're
Yeah, and I don't.
working with 10 separate cameras right now. That's why this is working the way it is right now.
Trustee Bills, you have something else you were going to speak?
I don't know if we've even asked CMS about this.
We discussed it at length back in April, February, when we were trying to figure out how we were going to hold meetings when the pandemic started and when we shut down.
And I do remember
So
that.
we've begun that exploration.
The technology's there. We're not quite sure what it is and what the cost is. I'm assuming that's where we are.
Yeah, I'm guessing that there's technology's there, but we don't own it. It's not currently configured. And I don't know what Trustee Bill, when you say you don't know why we can't, well, we can, but not tomorrow. So I'm not sure what your time horizon is, but.
Well, yeah, and there would be a difference between last February and this year. This is a totally different situation. We're going to have some people in the room and some people not in the room.
Right. And on topic, I think the question really, I'm supportive of this hybrid model, right? Once we're fully open, that we allow constituents, et cetera, to address the public and the board virtually. But I think the real question is are we ready for in person, or want to follow the county and administration's recommendation? Then not at this time. And I think that's the question. Yes, Trustee Karen.
Well, it looks like we only really have one more meeting till the anticipated change. Is that correct, Mark?
That's the scuttlebutt, yeah.
So, I'm willing to wait to do one more meeting and see what that change is, so that we're not changing now and changing in 2 more weeks, or, maybe it's a thing where by the end of this month, we get some good information and then we can prepare and then take off right off the bat. Do it right rather than having to go back and forth.
Right. Treasurer Rice?
Oh, no.
Oh, I thought you had something.
I think Mark was gonna say something.
I just want to clarify you are allowed to have a virtual meeting, okay? And that's going to go away as soon as the county does away with their emergency order. Then you will have no choice but to be in person. You are allowed to be in person tonight. All 7 of you would be in the boardroom. There'd be some capacity limits that we'd have to be aware of and be prepared to address should we exceed those. But you're allowed to be in person right now.
That's kind of what I was thinking of not taking, which we don't have obviously tons of people attending the meeting, so I don't know that would be the issue. But the last thing I want to do is have to cancel a meeting because we met capacity, and can't hold a meeting. I'd rather approach it from we're good to go and let's go, but sooner than later.
Yeah, me personally, I'm fully vaccinated and I'm comfortable with the idea. I wasn't 6 months ago, but I'm very comfortable with the idea of being in person now. My concern is really public health and employee health. The fact that the county basically told us what we can and can't do, I kind of respect that, and it is an option for us. But I think I would second what you said, Trustee Therian, and that is, let's wait and see what the county's going to do, and that may give us better clarification. It doesn't controversial anyway, because we're following what we're supposed to be doing. That's my general opinion.
And even when we were back in person, I would be working towards an environment where people that weren't in the boardroom could effectively attend the meeting. Not just on TV, but participate.
So, and just so I'm clear, this is a question for you, if we go in public, it isn't a matter of Oh, 5 trustees are comfortable in person and 2 are not, so they can't do virtual. It's all or nothing, right?
We don't have the ability to do a hybrid.
It's not even allowed, is it? Or is it at this point?
I think it probably would be allowed.
Until they lift the restriction? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
As
Treasurer,
long
you
as the emergency order is in place, it would be allowed. You could have 3 or 4 board members probably in the boardroom right now with your computers, your individual computers. And you'd be participating just like Trustee Bills is from, Manatee.
Treasurer Rice?
But we don't have the audio visual setup to do it, vision and newsroom or something, not that big, but we don't have that type of setup. To bring in a phone call from somebody remotely and have it on the PA system in the boardroom.
Treasurer Rice?
So I know eventually I would like for us to get back to in person. I mean, there's so many things that are better about that. As of right now, I cannot say I am comfortable with us going in person. My own opinion, and that, I mean, we could easily exceed 29 with the right topic. 29 people doesn't mean we will, and it's few and far in between. But just all, right now, I personally, if I personally would not feel comfortable with that. Mainly due to the fact that I have not been able to get my vaccine yet. And that, but also, what about other people that come in that haven't been able to get a vaccine yet? All it takes is one person and that whole room could be exposed, for the safety of other people. I'm having a hard time being ready for that yet. That's just my thoughts on that.
Trustee Brown, Clerk Cody, do you have any thoughts on this? Yes, Trustee Therian?
I totally understand where you're coming from, Kim. Absolutely respect that. I can tell you in my position, I have to be in the public. I'm around people all the time. Unfortunately, I'm in situations where I'm not socially distanced. I am vaccinated, and it's nothing, what you said is
I get it.
So, I'm already, unfortunately, if I'm going to be exposed, it's probably not going to happen in that boardroom. The one thought I was thinking of is, because it is a workplace, Mark, you probably have to have it cleaned after every meeting. I'm sure you probably would anyway, for at least for the first little bit. But
and you're all employees as well. I mean, as indicated in my memo, if you wanted to go to in-person meetings, we need to nail down the number of people limit. Recommended that everyone, unless you're talking, would wear a mask. There's probably 11 people that'll be just, you got 7 board members, myself, Tara would be, so you're already up to 9 there. Staff person or 2, you're up to 11. And then the rest would be available for citizens. So
We
your
could use,
number is already reduced just because of, you got so many people right here tonight that would be in the room.
Trustee Bills?
maybe we could use the next door neighbor, the Isabella Commission on Aging. They have a larger room.
They're not opened yet.
Maybe we could use it, couldn't we, or no? No?
I get approval from the county to use it just for the elections. And they're allow you to use the tables. We have to bring in our own tables, make sure it's clean.
Trustee Brown?
Yeah, I think we're having a lot of discussion on something that's gonna be dropped here in just 2 to 3 weeks, actually.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have no choice in July, third week or so. So the scuttlebutt, what Mark said, that this is all gonna be dropped. So moving tables and cleaning tables and finding another facility, I think it's a lot of work for something that's just gonna go away in about months, so. That's just my opinion on it. I want to be back in face. I think I said that at the last meeting. I felt very clear, or maybe the meeting before that. But the health and safety of our team members at that hall are very important. So, what's another Zoom meeting? A Zoom meeting or two, and this is over with. We're done. So,
Yep.
That's just the way. I guess that's my opinion. I've been sitting back listening to everything. That's. It's gonna be over with shortly, so.
My sensing consensus, because I see people nodding.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see what happens with the county in the next few weeks and go from there. All right, so can I bring up one other issue then, which is what I think Trustee Bills brought up. Is it worth asking our manager in all his free time to begin the process of looking at what technology we would need and what that might cost so that we can look at maybe budgeting for that?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was insinuating, that we should be doing that. But he said that, I mean, I don't know if we've talked about it since last year. We really need to.
Yeah, that just, it hasn't been on we knew we were doing hybrid for a while. And it hasn't been on the radar. But it'd be nice to give Mark a heads up if that's what it is, that we'd like to see that at some point. And I don't know what that timetable even looks like yet. And I think that's what we ask our manager to look at. What kind of costs we're looking at, what are the hurdles we need to do. Obviously, we have to make sure that we're following the Open Meetings Act. I mean, there's a lot to this. Is that request fairly clear, Mark?
Yeah.
Is that doable from where we stand? Okay. Yes, Trustee Hauk?
Jeff Brown had a question.
Oh, yes, Trustee Brown?
No, either one. I still, and I'm not saying I'm against this at all, but I'm very concerned about opening a can of worms if we do this hybrid system. And this is just, let me explain. We had a meeting a couple meetings ago that we had one of our township residents stand up with some concerns. I think it's going to be a lot easier for somebody to sit in their living room and do that same thing on our meetings and just belittle us, or even worse, get belligerent to us, where they wouldn't do that in an in-face meeting, I believe, as much. That's just my concern. I'm not saying I'm against it, but man, I say if we open this up to the public and they can sit in their living room and feel much more comfortable behind the screen, because we see how tough people are behind screens sometimes, it's a concern. That's just my opinion. I just want to throw that out there and make sure we're all thinking about that.
Yeah, and I agree with that sentiment as well. It's a concern. Trustee Hauk?
Yeah, we already have avenues for people to get in touch with us. We've had these in place for years. There's people that can't make it to meetings. They send an email. The supervisor reads it if there's discussion. They send letters. The supervisor reads them if we have discussion. Those avenues are already in place. So, I mean, when we think about it, how many times do we have live meetings and correspondence would be read during meetings? So those are already in place.
Trustee Therian?
I'm actually for the investigative period or portion of it, just to see what it is. Because right now, people right now, we can't see their faces, can get on for 5 minutes twice and do the same thing you're talking about, Trustee Brown. You're right in that respect. I mean, I think maybe that's where we can provide parameters, providing we meet the Open Meetings Act. It's also a linkage for somebody who maybe is homebound, that has a lot of good things to say. So there's good and bad. I don't think I want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on something like that, because Bill's right. We do have avenues for them to write letters and email. If you have the ability to attend the meeting virtually, you have the ability to more than likely email. So you are right, Bill, in that. I just think it's worth the look, to see what would it look like and what would it entail, because there might be some factors that we just don't know that would be a benefit to us.
Well, I think I'll kind of reiterate what you said a little bit too. I wouldn't want to invest a lot into this initial investigation, just try to get a feel for what it would take. I don't want this to be a major task on our staff at this point. We know what it looks like. Is there still a sense from this board where, we're not voting necessarily on this at this point. Let's look and see what it would look like or not.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to go into that research to a certain extent, just because it fits with so many things that are in your policy about communication, connection to constituents. It would be brought back to you along the way, with, and there's even things that we can do that would improve that. That, for instance, we don't televise our meetings when we're in person, live on public access. Okay. That would be a step in the right direction. Just even if it's not two-way communication, somebody could sit at home and at least watch the meeting. You can't do that right now.
Call in.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Are we all good on this then for now?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, board. Appreciate the discussion. Move to extended public comment, item 11 on the agenda. Extended public comment is restricted to 5 minutes regarding any issue. This is not an opportunity for questions, but rather for comments. Seeing no public here, I think get heavy into the instructions, but if you would like the floor, you can raise your hand and the floor will be given to you. If you do speak, say your name and address for the record. And with that, we'll open extended public comment at 8:29 p.m. Seeing no one coming forward, we'll close the extended public comment at 8:29 p.m. and I'll be happy to hand over the floor to our manager for item 12 on our agenda, manager's comments.
You're muted.
I do have a couple tonight. I communicated this electronically, but our new building official, which was an internal promotion, they started this past Monday. So that's good. We do have a date now for the cleanup day. It's going to be October 2nd, around the time we did it last year. Historically, it's been in July. Last year it was in the fall. This year it'll be in the fall as well. It will be located again in the parking lot of Commission on Aging. So we have started, that planning, and we have our vendors locked down and getting notice out to the residents, routine like we always do. As mentioned already, the McGurk subdivision paving was completed. Mid-Michigan Aquatic Recreation Authority held their first meeting earlier this week. So they're planning right now on meeting monthly. So that handoff, we kind of did a handoff from where we were to their first meeting. So they're up and running. And then I'll be out of the office the week of June 21st. We have a board meeting June 23rd that I will be missing. The week that I'm out, you'll get an email on this. And as public services director will be acting township manager. I won't be far away. I'll be up north and west of Traverse City, but my daughter's getting married the weekend, or second
Congrats.
week that week. So I'm up there. She's getting married up there, so we got some work to do to get ready for that.
Congrats.
That's all I have. Thank you.
You're good. I have a, thought I had a question for you. Oh yeah. You mentioned the McGurk assessment subdivision district. So one of the questions I got from the residents was when does the township get the bill, or when do we expect the final bill from the county on that?
I'm not sure when we will get the final bill. It'll be shortly, probably. They just finished the work the other day. They did get a notice and a first bill. It was required to be sent to them within 20 days of your approval of the roll. That went out Wednesday, June 2nd. First payment without interest is due, if I recall, September 1. So we'll send them another bill, if you will, as we get closer to that date.
Yeah, in fact, a couple residents showed me the notice they got from the township.
We received at least one payment that I'm aware of, an annual installment.
Wow.
That was as of a few days ago, maybe more now.
Thank you. Any other questions for our manager? Being none, we'll move to final board comment. I'll start at the bottom this time. Trustee Bills.
I don't have much. I'm just on vacation, having a great week.
Good for you. Clerk Cody.
Nothing, thank you.
Trustee Haug.
I only have one. Everybody's shocked. Jim McLean. Jim McLean, have we done anything, Mark? What are we gonna do for him? Have we talked to the, I don't know what to do. Are we gonna do something as him for him from the township?
There was a little bit of discussion we had on that a while ago. I think it makes a little bit of sense to try to do something. Did you happen, Trustee Howe, talk to your cousin about it?
Yeah, Roger said they have some kind of plaque or something for him. The state, I guess. I can ask him again. I don't remember what he said, but I don't know. I was thinking, name it the Jim McLean Ball Complex or whatever. Put some plaque up or whatever on a post or something, and each field's already named, so
Right.
why not just have it his complex?
And the park's already named.
Right.
I thought of maybe naming the concession stand.
Yeah, something.
You could put a monument maybe of some sort, but I think it'll get real dicey if you start trying to replace names.
Oh yeah, you don't want to do that.
Right.
You could also plant a tree and put a little plaque in front of it, like the tree in front of the township. That's another idea.
That's a good idea, Lisa, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something to recognize all that he's done. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
we'll put some heads together here internally and come up with either a recommendation or just execute something.
All right. Who's the president of their league? Some Anderson or whatever? I can't remember.
Alex Edwards, I want to say.
Yeah, that might be it, yeah. Maybe he's good thing. Yeah,
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
yeah, that's all I have.
Trustee Therian.
Thank you, Bill, for bringing that up. I think Mr. McLean deserves some, not just some, I mean, a lot of our appreciation for all that he's done for the little league and for the boys and girls, and something more permanent, big rock in front of a tree with a plaque or something, something
Right.
like that unmistakably identifies him. I don't want it,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it to be something off to the side. I would want it to be that anytime anybody looks over there, they know that that is a dedication to somebody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trustee Brown.
I'm all set tonight. Thank you.
Treasurer Rice.
I'm good.
And I'm good. Connie, have a great vacation.
Thanks, man.
Mhm.
Mark, and congratulations on the wedding. I hope that's
Yeah.
good. for
Yeah,
you.
congratulations, Mark.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, with that, I'd be happy to take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion. Oh, or support.
Got a motion to adjourn, support by Rice. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. Carries. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Good evening.